Hey, what's up, guys? Note Investor here. What a topsy-turbulent week it's been. We had some good news today. Last couple days there's been some interesting news, but has Bitcoin found a low? The altcoin market is getting smashed. I'm going to go over some of that. If you missed my newsletter, I will put a link in the description here on the video. And I was talking a little bit about altcoins, some counter trend rallies that I'm going to be looking for here as we head into August. But Bitcoin is the pullback over. Let's take a look at some of that. So I'm going to go over that. There's been some positive action here in the last couple of days. After 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 red days in a row, after that peak we had in 8,500 BTC, we've had a pretty decent correction here. But here in the last day, we're finally seeing some positive action. Right at support, we're attempting to form a little bit of a reversal hammer bar. Now there's still quite a bit of time left on this current day. There's about 6 hours, but if we can close in the green or even up at these levels, it would be very positive. Volume will likely exceed yesterday's volume, which will also be positive. And so that's what I'm going to be looking for here. But going to the weekly chart first here, it's not too surprising, right, that we saw a red week. I kind of was expecting it, to be honest with you. It's just after seeing, this nice strong run we've had here for the last several weeks, the last 2 weeks prior to this week were very strong weeks. You can see the volume there was well above average. So we've had a very significant move off of the low in the month of July. Bitcoin, from end to end went up as high as 30% plus. And so seeing a little bit of a pullback, a little bit of a retracement is not unusual following a couple of strong weeks. It's just part of the ebb and flow of the markets. However, the question is always, is this just a retracement or is this a reversal? That was the top and we're going to start making new lows, right? And no one ultimately knows that, and there are certain things to look out for, and I'm going to go over some of that here in terms of some of the support levels I was watching, which support the notion of this was just a retracement. However, if these levels are broken, will not be positive for the overall market. But we've seen some pretty positive news here. Just today we saw a revelation that the ICE, which is the parent company of the NYSE, the stock exchange, is opening up a crypto exchange, through this startup app called Backed to make cryptocurrency a little bit more accessible. And so it's not surprising. We're going to continue to see this. I've been talking about this for a while, saying, with the current exchanges being so lucrative, right? I mean, they're just making money hand over fist. And to be honest with you, the fees are still relatively high compared to traditional market trading. When you do trading on stocks or other markets, Forex or something like that, doing a straight comparison, if I buy $100,000 worth of stock, round trip is going to cost me significantly lower than if I buy $100,000 worth of crypto round trip. And so if you compare the fees, the crypto exchange fees are still relatively high. And so you're going to continue to see new entrants into the space, but what you're going to continue to see is the big players coming in, right? You're going to see these traditional stock exchange, Forex exchange, commodity exchanges coming in and also competing with the crypto exchange. And so some of the big players will probably be okay, but some of the smaller crypto exchanges are absolutely going to be under pressure. And some of the ones that have fallen off here in recent months from a volume perspective, things like Bittrex, right? They're already lagging. They're going to be facing some tougher competition as some of these more big name exchanges come online, as well as the regulation environment and some of that. So these guys have an interest in maintaining their leadership role in the exchange world, and there is no surprise that they want a little piece of the crypto action. We've already seen NASDAQ talking about it, and so it's just going to continue to be another thing. Another one is Northern Trust, right? And they're a relatively unknown but a significant, in terms of size of assets under management, company, and they're going to be opening the doors to blockchain and crypto, and they're kind of taking a little bit of a progressive point of view. And so there's an interesting article. I'll link to both of these here in the notes so you can check those out. But there's been some positive news from a big money entering crypto space perspective. And so we're starting to see a little bit of that sentiment shifting a little bit, but certainly the prices have not had a huge reaction to any of this. It's very much been a downward momentum for most of the week. So let's take a quick look at the price chart here. So that's the daily chart. You can see we're still living below the 10 EMA on the daily with several days in the red. Today we're seeing the first attempt of trying to put in a little bit of a low. Now I want to go into the shorter term time frames, and I'm going to show you multiple indicators. Now when I do my trading, you know, I certainly don't use this many indicators in analysis, but when it comes to doing the analysis, it's always good to kind of look at it from different points of view. But I'm going to show you guys, you know, from a Ichimoku perspective, from a Bollinger Band perspective, and then just the traditional indicators that I use to do the analysis to kind of show you guys what I'm looking at here. So you can see on the 4-hour chart, still living below the 10 EMA up until this most recent candle. So we'll see if we can close above, but that's been resistance since we started to roll over. You can see we were just bouncing right into that. And so we pulled back. Now we did hit a significant level. There was two levels I was watching on this retracement. First was in and around that 7,500, just above that, and then ultimately that $7,300 range. And these two levels also lined up very well with the Fibonacci retracement levels. And so if we do a retracement analysis on this entire move up, the two levels that I was watching was the 382 level. And so you can see right here, which was around that 75, 70 or so right there, and which lined up very well with the 7,500 mark. And that was the first attempt to find support. You can see we came down to that, we bounced in and around that level, but really all it did was set up a little bit of a bear flag. Once the moving average caught up, you can see we just rolled right over. And then yesterday we saw a retest of the next level of support, which was around that 7,300. And that was also the 50% retracement level on this pullback. And so we've seen it test. Now we want to see this level hold now. The 50% is still a decent retracement. It's not too deep. 382 would have been much stronger, but the 50% is a stronger retracement. If we pull back all the way to 7K, we would still technically be okay, but that's starting to get a little bit deep of a retracement, and I would think we'd see more momentum to the downside if we broke below this 7,300. And I'm going to show you guys why using some other indicators. This is a must-hold level now. And so this little bit of a between 7,300, call it 7,250, in and around that window, it's going to be a key support level. The fact that we're bouncing off of that is positive right now. We are seeing some better volume patterns here off of this most recent action compared to what we saw here in the past, where it was just straight distribution. You can see there was a lot of sellers. The buying action was very small. And here in the last couple of candles here, we're seeing that starting to shift a little bit. You're starting to see some more buying action coming in here in the lows around that $7,300, $7,400 zone. So that's positive. However, we still got to break above this resistance. At this point, we're just bouncing right into what was previously support at 7,500. Now we're bouncing into that. So closing above this mid $7,500 range, 7,560 or so, is going to be positive. It's going to start to show some momentum into the upside. And as you can see on the daily chart, that's also going to paint a nice hammer candle if we can close up into that range. And so right now it's just a bounce. We're still below the moving average, but it's starting to show some positive signs of support coming in. And so it's not going to take much to make this a green candle for the day. I'd like to see that. I'm going to be watching this closely to see how we can close on the current day, but right now it's looking good. What I'd like to see, going back to the 4-hour chart here, I'd like to see a little bit of a pullback from this resistance that we're bouncing into, a little bit of a pullback, confirm that that was support, and then a push through that resistance. That would really start to confirm that we have found an intermediate low. After several red days in a row, it's not going to be surprising to see some upside testing, and that's actually what I'm expecting here. So I'm expecting this to hold near term, a little bit of upside testing beyond this current resistance level. If we continue higher, then that $7,900 range is going to be the next major resistance level to be watching on the upside. Let's take a look at a couple other ways to analyze this here. So going to the Ichimoku indicator, I don't show this often on the videos, but I do follow this from time to time just to watch certain support levels. And looking at the Ichimoku 4-hour chart, you can see that we've pulled right back in, we're right into the cloud, and now we're finding support right at the bottom of that cloud there. So that's positive, the fact that support came right to that, I mean almost exactly, which happened to line up with that $7,300 mark. And so now we're bouncing. That is now a must-hold level of support. Going to the 12-hour you can see we've pulled back and we've found support right at the Kijinsen line, and that is another level of support to be watching. So when on the larger time frames, it's expected that we'll often hit this as a level of support, and that's top of the cloud there. And we're also forecasting a bullish Kumo twist there. So you can see it's going from red to green, and we're hitting the support line. So on the 12-hour chart, that's looking positive. If you go to the daily chart, you can see we're right at the Kijinsen line, still within the cloud, but we're right there. So just so many indicators are lining up, and because of the confluence of indicators showing up in and around that $7,300 mark, is now making it a must-hold level. A break below that, especially a significant break below that, is not going to be positive and will likely send the momentum to the negative very quickly. So that's what I'm looking at here. Going to the Bollinger Bands here, this just kind of shows you some extremes. I tend to use it just when we're peaking out on one end or the other. And you can see here we poked above it here when we crossed that $8,400 mark on the 12-hour chart. And this pullback here, most recently, we went right below that band. So if we can close above the prior candle on the 12-hour chart, so basically getting into the upper 7,500 mark, this would show some nice reversal action. I'd like to see a little bit more volume come in. We still have about 5.5 hours left on this candle, but that's what I'm going to be looking for. So the fact that so many things are lining up in and around that makes it a must-hold level now in and around this $7,300 mark. Below that, psychological 7K, but I personally don't want to see it retraced that much further. Now, what I'm going to be looking for here, because the alt market is just so beaten up, now that Bitcoin is starting to show a little bit of support, I'm actually looking at more alt trading as we head into August. So it's primarily been the Bitcoin show in July, especially the second half of July, but I'm thinking that's going to start to switch a little bit. We may see some counter trend rallies in the alts. I'm already starting to see signs of that. Very quickly going to some of the names, IOTA was showing some strength yesterday. You can see coming off of the low, it undercut that support zone, bouncing higher. Let me go to the daily chart here. It looks very strong on the daily chart. You can see we had this big bullish reversal hammer that's forming right now. Multiple times it hit this support level, and this was a big fake out, shakeout. You can see we had this break below and then a huge reversal, and if this closes here at the positive, the massive buying volume that came in below that support level is very good to see. So I'm going to be looking out for more of these types of reversal patterns as we start to head into August, as some of these alts are hitting these very extreme oversold conditions. Looking at EOS versus BTC, it's also forming a big falling wedge. Another pattern I'm going to be keeping an eye on here as it tries to form some support. NEO also forming a big falling wedge. So just so many of these patterns are starting to show up, and so that's what I'm going to be paying attention to. I'm going to be looking at more of these BTC pairs versus the USDT pairs and looking for those names that are going to start bouncing back and maybe outperforming Bitcoin here in the near term. So that's what I'm going to be going for into August. I am also kicking off the next round of the Node Insiders private group. If you're interested in learning more about trading, this is a group you want to look into here. I do a lot of updates. I do daily updates. I post my watch list. I post trades that I'm looking to take and just strategies that I'm looking at, as well as a lot of educational stuff. I do private streams for the group. I teach trade strategies, stop loss strategies, risk management, all of that stuff. And you also get a preview access to some of the proprietary alerts that I do offer. So check that out if you're looking to learn a little bit more about trading and improving your technical analysis and trading education, then this may be something that will interest you. So that's going to be it for today, guys. I appreciate you watching. Again, those are the levels to be keeping an eye on Bitcoin here near term. Again, seeing a little bit more positive action in the shorter term time frames. I'm going to be watching this daily chart as we head into the close and looking for some positive reversal action and a little bit of upside testing, at least for the next day or two, and going into resistance. Again, keep an eye on that $7,800-$7,900 mark. That's going to be the first level that we need to cross. But for now, this is just a retracement. We've pulled back to about the 50% mark. It is not technically a full reversal yet. This is just a retracement in the big picture, but we have now established some key support levels that we're going to be watching into the next week. So thanks for watching. Thanks for the likes and subscribes. And until next time, take care, everyone.